So today at the Sun&Blue podcast, we have Costas Christ, founder and president of Costas Christ and Associates, and former senior advisor of sustainability at National Geographic. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, it's my pleasure to join you. Thank you.
So, as one of the early pioneers of sustainable tourism, how would you describe the evolution of the concepts over the year, and what do you see as the most significant global achievement so far?
Well, we need to go back to the early days of when there was concern about the rate of growth of tourism. In other words, tourism was growing so fast. For 1950, there were 25 million international tourists. In 2020, there was over 1 billion. So when we look at that growth, it raised alarms among conservationists. It raised alarms among those who are working in destinations about the impact if this is uncontrollable. And that gave birth first to the idea of ecotourism. Ecotourism was defined in 1991 as responsible travel to natural areas that protects nature and sustains the well-being of local people. That was a definition that myself and a small group, less than 10 of us, came up with to create a new idea of tourism. In 2002, the United Nations held the first ever global ecotourism summit. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because it was at that summit, after I gave an opening address, that something occurred to me. Ecotourism was always about nature, but the tourism industry, in terms of flights, urban destinations, etc., was much larger than just visiting national park or going on a safari to Africa. So I began asking the question, why should it only be, say, a jungle camp in Costa Rica doing good tourism? Why should it only be a small camp in Africa? What about big city hotels? What about Paris? What about Hong Kong? What about New York? Shouldn't all tourism be involved? This gave birth in 2002 to sustainable tourism. So where ecotourism is always about nature, sustainable tourism is about the entire global tourism industry. From 2002 to today, where we are sitting in Almeria, Spain, at the Sun&Blue 2025 Congress, we have seen tremendous accomplishments. In 2008, I was involved in helping to create the first global criteria for United Nations for sustainable tourism. So when you ask about what are some of the biggest accomplishments, establishing a global criteria was one of the most important as a big accomplishment. Other big accomplishments are, and I won't walk through all of them, but we have been able to transform and bring awareness to the importance of sustainability to corporations and to destinations and to governments. So there's more hope today than there was before. But we still have challenges ahead of us. And what do I think some of those big challenges are? I'll be honest. We today now have the tools to make sustainable tourism work. The question is not, can sustainable tourism create a positive future? The answer is yes, because we have case studies around the world that prove it. The question is, will policy leaders in government and will corporate leaders act? Will they actually implement sustainable tourism? It's not, can we do it? It's, will we do it? That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, you actually raised a really big point in sustainable tourism, and you also mentioned some best practices in your past and through your work with National Geographic. You have witnessed inspiring practices across the globe. Which examples stand out as strong references for advances in sustainable tourism?
Oh, I think there's a few. I'll give you a couple. all right, because we could fill the whole session with some of these good examples. One of them I would point to is the Brando Resort in French Polynesia. This is a tropical island, and they are leading in sustainability. Just one example is that they have an entire air conditioning system that is run on renewable energy, and it uses deep sea water for cooling, meaning there are no harmful chemicals. You know, air conditioning has a chemical called fluorocarbons. It's one of the most damaging for global warming. So here, in that one place, they have pioneered a technology to run air conditioning without fossil fuels and without these harmful chemicals. That's a big deal. Imagine if this model can be brought to other places in the world. Another example through sustainable tourism is the restoration of former habitats and bringing them back, what we call rewilding. So there's a company called Beyond, and this company Beyond is based in Africa. They operate globally, but one of their projects is a place called Pinda. This was an area in the past that had been degraded and destroyed. No wildlife, it was overused, overgrazing. In 20 years, they have brought this back completely to life. There are now rhinos, lions, other endangered species. So this is an example of how sustainable tourism has gone about rewilding and recreating and bringing damaged habitat back to life. So these are a couple examples. We can also talk about the blue economy, where tourism has played a very important role in terms of safeguarding and protecting marine ecosystems. So sea turtles, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we were at a crisis point with sea turtles. We still have this problem. But today, the successes and the models for conservation are much, much more. So there are many examples of how sustainable tourism has delivered on its promise based on three key things: nature, culture, and community, to make destinations better and to help protect our planet.
Thank you so much for these examples, because I think they are also a great opportunity to see that blue tourism is just not about economy, it's also about science and connecting local communities. So we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but working together it is possible to overcome these challenges. And also, what are the essential elements that make a tourism model genuinely sustainable rather than just a marketing exercise?
Well, again, I can give you another example. In California, there's a very nice property, a hotel called Post Ranch Inn. So what makes Post Ranch Inn sustainable? They are protecting a grove of ancient redwood trees. These are the largest trees on our planet. They sequester carbon. They have also greened their supply chain. You won't find plastic in use at this hotel. You will find partnerships with local providers, meaning the supply chain. I was there last week, and Post Ranch Inn, with its nonprofit group, which is called Regenerative California, is now piloting a 34-hectare regenerative farm that will be not only employing local people and teaching the techniques of regenerative farming, but Post Ranch Inn will be then purchasing the farm products. So when we see an example like this, we see the ability, and this is just one hotel, to have a profound positive impact on its environment, in this case, the area called Big Sur in California. And that, to me, would be another living example where Post Ranch Inn is showing the way that sustainability and tourism can deliver economic prosperity and protect the planet.
That's really inspiring, and hopefully more hotels will sum up to this example that we have far away. Maybe in the Mediterranean we can also see more of these practices. And today travelers are influenced by sustainability. There are every day more travelers wanting to be sustainable, to travel consciously. And in what ways are their expectations reshaping coastal and marine destinations?
I think that, we have a dichotomy happening. The travelers, and most travelers, want to travel in a way that is respectful to the environment. Most travelers want to travel in a way that is both respectful and good for the local people. What we need is for the businesses, particularly in the blue economy, to help make that happen. I'll give you one example. Even here in Spain, we have some companies that are doing very sustainable trips using electric boat engines for minimum impact and positive benefit to the marine ecosystem. Yet at the same time, other industries, meaning other boats that are using fossil fuels, some of them are even subsidized. So my point is we need policymakers and we need destination leaders to make sure that those companies that are committed to sustainability get preferential treatment. In doing that, they will match their product, their destination, growing demand travelers who are good when they travel. So we need the private sector, public sector to help travelers know how to make those choices.
Thank you so much.